Oh, hi. We're a society obsessed with measuring everything. We got a call the other day from an investor asking us about apartment sizes. Do smaller apartments work better than larger apartments? Do larger apartments work better than smaller apartments? It's sort of the age-old question. So we decided to look into it a little bit with newer construction. We looked at properties built over the last 5 years in the city of Seattle to get a start to answering that question. And what we found didn't really surprise us. Smaller apartments rent for less. So what this chart shows is that apartments that average about 400 square feet rent for about $1,000 a month, while apartments that average 1,000 square feet rent for about $2,000 a month. So the larger the apartment, the higher the rent. That pretty much makes sense. Now the reason for the all the plots in this chart not following the trend line exactly is it covers the whole city and properties built over the last 5 years. So some neighborhoods are more expensive than others, and of course some properties will have more amenities than other properties. Plus generally, the newer the property is over the last 5 years, generally speaking, the higher the rent's going to be. But we ran this chart out a little further than just to 1,000 or 1,200 square foot units, and we were kind of surprised by what we saw. The trend line didn't continue as a straight line. It really shot upwards pretty dramatically to the point where apartments that are around 2,000 square feet seem to be renting for about $5,000 a month. Now, you can tell from all the individual plots here, there are not many units out there over 1,000 or 1,200 square feet. So part of the reason for these higher rents is just the scarcity of the product. That gives them a lot of pricing power. But still, it is a significant trend, which makes it an interesting question for developers. Do you go small or do you go large? Patty and I really like the movies a lot, and one movie chain, Regal Cinemas, has that ad before they begin the previews and then the movie. The ad is go big or go home. Well, the question here is it go big or go home, or is it go small or go home? You can also see from this chart that there's a significant amount of properties that have been built with smaller units over the last number of years, just looking at the number of plots on the graph. So to really dig into this just a little bit more, there's another way to look at rent trends, not just the absolute amount of rent that a unit is able to command, but what's the rent per net rentable square foot. And so this chart looks at that, and you can see that smaller units are renting for more per square foot. Say that 400 square foot units are trending up towards about $3 a foot, whereas 1,000 square foot units are down closer to the $2 a square foot range. But then, because those very large units had significantly higher rents than the normal trend line would show, you could see that the rent per square foot is going up in those as well. So what does all of this mean? Well, it means two things. First, smaller units have not been built in large quantities up until the last few years. Studios and very small one-bedrooms were very prevalent back in the early 1900s. Then they fell out of favor with the suburban garden court developments that saw a lot of one- and two-bedroom apartments and even three-bedroom apartments. But in the last few years, we're seeing a significant number of small units being built in the market. Now, these aren't just studios or small one-bedrooms. They're really new designs or variations or combinations of older designs. So we have urban one-bedrooms, we've got one-bedroom lofts, one-bedroom townhomes, we've got live-work one-bedrooms, and so on. And so there's a lot of new product being built at the small end of the size spectrum, and that seems to be a very strong in-demand market right now. But also, there is clearly some potential for very high rents in some very large units. Now, this certainly is a thin market. There's not a lot of people out there who can afford rents of $5,000 or $6,000 a month. There's certainly a few, and it's something that developers just might want to look at in the future in a very limited way. I hope that you found this week's video useful, and you'll come back next week for another weekly apartment update.